Also, at one of the rallies, yes, there were people holding up a Free Palestine like flag. I think that was there already, and cops basically came and packed those people up, and it was awkward. Like Bernie was just like quiet in that instance when he should have, in my opinion, actively demanded the cops unhand these protesters.
This morning, Harvard is fighting back against the Trump administration's freeze on billions of dollars in grant money. Now, that freeze came after the school rejected White House.
To brighten your day, standing ovation for AOC while talking about Palestine at the rally in Montana.
Are being detained with no charge or evidence for using their First Amendment rights, especially if they are using those First Amendment rights to speak up for Palestinians and to end the war in Gaza. In fact, the Trump administration admits that it has jailed a young husband and father from New York, Mahmoud Khalil, without any evidence or charge of a crime. The Trump administration admits that they have thrown him in a cell thousands of miles away in Louisiana from his family because he attended.
That's why I need you to understand something. That's why when I see these crowds, I don't immediately, like the rest of, unfortunately, my Twitter leftist fans, don't instantly go, oh, this means nothing. This means nothing. These people mean nothing. It's not what Bernie says. I've been in those crowds. You've been in those crowds. You know that there are people there, just like yourself, that are far more radical or far closer to the truth. Because I don't want to use the term radical here when talking about Israel, because it's not about being radical at all. It's about being empathetic. It's about being equipped with the knowledge of what Israel's doing. It's about seeing the reality. Do you understand? Casting aside this broad populist momentum that is happening because you just don't consider the people that are getting everyone together to be completely in line with your worldview is silly. And what I mean from that is not to stop criticizing Bernie Sanders. I'm not demanding that at all. I won't stop criticizing Bernie Sanders either. Same with AOC as well in moments of critique. But what you fail to recognize is that they are mobilizing people, okay? They are mobilizing. They're mobilizing people every day all around the country, okay?
A protest, and that they are detaining him for the content of his speech and nothing more.
Yeah, for example, in Idaho, and that's what I was going to talk about as well. What are the Bernie critiques? Bernie Sanders, after 18 months of Israel's genocide, still blames Benjamin Netanyahu almost as a singular force of being. Sometimes he says Israel, but usually he says Benjamin Netanyahu. Bernie Sanders says Israel has a right to defend itself when it's starting the point of conversation. Bernie Sanders is far more to the left than the average American congressperson, but the expectation from someone like him, who is or has been at times a anti-imperialist when it counts, the fact that people in the crowd are outflanking Bernie is crazy to me. The fact that AOC is outflanking Bernie is crazy to me. Bernie still, I think, has not, to my knowledge at least, has not called what Israel's doing to be a genocide. Also, at one of the rallies, yes, there were people holding up a Free Palestine like flag. I think that was there already, and cops basically came and packed those people up, and it was awkward. Like Bernie was just like quiet in that instance when he should have, in my opinion, actively demanded the cops unhand these protesters. What are we doing? I hear what you're saying, but I will criticize AOC for calling it a war. Yeah, AOC called it literally like 2-3 months in. What are you talking about? On literally the congressional floor. You are oblivious, I think. A lot of the criticism against AOC, unironically, is shit that you read on Twitter. Of course, she is nowhere near as she's nowhere near as clear and hasn't stepped on any landmines in the way that like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are very obviously on board with this, very obviously closer to the broad public sentiment than even AOC is. Having said that, AOC is very close to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib across the board. That's it. They both say Netanyahu's to blame and support funding Israel. There's zero daylight. No, that's not true. Okay. Her biggest flub, in my opinion, was to repeat the Biden is working tirelessly for a ceasefire. Like that was 100%. If you want to critique AOC, critique it on that. Okay. Because that's the point. That is the actual point to criticize her on. Don't come in here with nonsense because you are oblivious. I wrote about my deep disagreement with a lot of the reactions I've seen to Bernie AOC rallies and how they betray a sort of nihilism that is antithetical to revolutionary politics and ignores the dialectic at play in the current situation. Yeah, there is a nihilism that has taken hold in a lot of people left post-2020 that has seemingly given up on the idea that a better world is possible and has stopped trying to fight for it. Instead of using a materialist lens to understand why the working class is the way it is, you deride them as stupid, as gullible, as rubes, as voting for their own oppression. In one breath, you say, we don't live in a democracy, and this is true. But in the next, you decide that people who vote in the system are fully responsible for every awful thing the ruling class does. I don't even know if that's what leftists online say, to be honest. I do think that they have a nihilistic framework that they operate off of, though, where they think neither party is going to save us. Okay, what are you doing? Are you organizing? Using this momentum that exists to organize within these crowds is what you're supposed to do. You know who does that? Baba Avaking's cult does that, okay? Revcoms do that, but dumb, perfectly normal Marxist-Leninists never seemingly do that, I guess, or just simply complain about it. Why are you letting the Revcoms take up space? What's wrong with you? Anyway, leftists online don't really think this. Online leftists do. Yeah, I agree. I saw a post Claro put of having Bernie open up her chat or open up for Coachella, and so many comments were saying Bernie is back because he says money from AIPAC, and to look up how much money he's gotten from AIPAC. The fuck? Crowd size and mobilizing is all well and good, but I think we need more this time around. I agree. Anyway, you make your whole personality about not voting rather than what you're doing instead of voting. You define yourself through negation. What you don't do, who you don't like, what systems you oppose, instead of what vision you have for the future. What you support, what you believe in, what you are willing to fight for. Hating the right things doesn't make you a radical. You have to take action to make the world into what you believe it should be. Have you ever seen a Beyonce show? I have not. I would like to. So when I see Bernie bring this massive crowd together in parts of the country that are deep red, for the record, as well as deep blue districts, it is not a moment to say Bernie is the worst person to be doing this. Okay? It's a moment to say, how can we get this movement of people who are obviously angry and resentful at the right things, mind you, because this is not a fucking Cory Booker rally. Okay? These are people who, on the issue of Israel, in my opinion, are further to the left, closer to the truth than Bernie Sanders is. Why does not keep punching left at MLs lately? I'm not. Anyway, does anyone have the... Oh, pro-Palestine demonstrators here.
One America in which the wealthiest people, the top 1%, have never,
cops come up.
ever had it so good.
People start booing the cops. It's a Bernard rally. It's a Bernard rally. Cops removing a fucking Free Palestine banner at a Bernard rally is gonna get a lot of people angry and upset. Okay? Bernie sees what's going on. People are cheering the people that have the Free Palestine banner. I think look, maybe I'm being a little fucking parasocial. It was covering our flag. Shut the fuck up. I can't take you seriously. I'm sorry. It was covering our flag. Oh no, my flag. Fuck the flag. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, again, I can't. Thank you. The chatter, wait, chatter was serious? No, that makes it way funnier. Oh no, sure was. That ain't right. I have achieved my goal. No, you really did. Anyway, stop. I think, look, I'm going to be a little parasocial as someone who has great respect for Bernie Sanders, regardless of our very significant disagreement on an issue as serious as whether or not Israel's doing a genocide. The reality is Israel is doing a genocide. Okay. If Bernie Sanders spent every waking moment also fucking actively shitting on pro-Palestinian demonstrators, I would have a very different reaction to this. But the fact that he doesn't do that feels like, maybe I'm being a little parasocial, but like there's a sense of shame, and he doesn't know how to react to this stuff, partially because I think he's an 85-year-old liberal Zionist who still in his mind believes in this like fake notion that Zionism could have ever been anything but an exterminationist project. Okay? That's it. That's why I think he tries to do what he can do. It's an 85-year-old dude, okay? He tries to do what he can do in the sense that he doesn't entertain the anti-Palestinian coalitions while simultaneously still putting forward bills to stop weapons transfers to Israel, because he has done that over and over again. Tell people to Prime. Yes. Subscribe with your Prime. Top 10 most embarrassing things you've said. I think this is a pretty valid assessment, unless you think personally that he is, you know, he literally wants all the Palestinians to be fucking melted, and not that he like genuinely believes in nonsense, not the nonsensical position that like, oh, there will one day be a two-state, and that, you know, liberal Israelis will live side by side with liberal Palestinians. Like, no, he thinks Hamas are fucking scary, barbaric monsters. Okay, for sure. Except he doesn't outwardly say that, because he also kind of recognizes, I think, that that would be really fucked up for him to say, if that makes sense. It's completely unacceptable to fucking constantly say Israel has a right to defend itself. Do you know what I mean? No, I fully think he doesn't give a shit and just as upset that the genocide is so apparent and obvious. Yeah, no, I think there is, I'm not saying Bernie Sanders' opinion, I'm not trying to empathize with Bernie Sanders' position. I'm not telling you that this is the appropriate position. I've said this before. Liberal Zionism is like saying you're a liberal Nazi. Okay? That's it. Like, it's a ridiculous, it's a completely fucking ridiculous position to have. It is a severe contradiction. Okay? But given the fact that he is 855 years old, he has this contradiction in his heart. And as a, you are so full of yourself, thank you. I guess you're right. I don't think that there is anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing Bernie's takes, for the record. But having said that, I think that using the momentum that he has right now and not casting aside and simply saying every single person in that crowd is a fucking liberal Nazi or whatever is stupid. Okay? It's stupid. That's why other congresspersons, I'll give you an example. Chris Vanderholen, right? Maryland Democratic senator that flew down the fucking El Salvador today. Why am I glazing him? Do I agree with everything that he says? Do I agree with his assessment on issues? No, but he is a fucking senator that in this very specific moment is doing the right thing. Van Holen, sorry. Did I say Vanderholen? Senator Lederholen. He's doing his fucking job. Remember that. I will work with anyone and everyone that carries the torch. I think this is a major, major mistake, for the record. He did at least talk for several minutes on the matter. It wasn't a bad part of his speech, but the way he quietly turns away and ignores the people with the flag is disheartening. He could have just said one thing. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the reason why he doesn't have any fucking motion on this is straightforwardly because he just doesn't, like, this is a major issue. This is a major contradiction that he has. He might be, unfortunately, too old to address. Does that make sense?
In America today,
he's still trying to like go through his speech. You should be like, this is America. These people have a right to say this. Palestine will be free. You know, any number of different things. That's what he should be doing in this situation. No, it's not that he's too old to understand. I'm not saying he's old and feeble-minded, chat. I'm saying he's old and calcified in his positions and not interested in addressing the contradictions that exist. It is especially apparent to me considering that basically in his dying breath, he's still trying to rally people, and he doesn't have an ambition for, more power. He can't. He's way too old. He wants to carry the torch. He wants to pass the torch to someone else. Seemingly that person is AOC. So in this process, he has the luxury to say whatever the fuck he wants. He could literally go up on that stage right now, given that, he said he's going to run again for fucking senator for Vermont, but he could literally talk about how he wants to dismantle the Zionist entity piece by piece, okay? He could sing the praises of Hasan Nasrallah if he that. He could do whatever the fuck he wants. He'd be like, Che Guevara was the most misunderstood politician in the history of mankind. He could say that. He's not doing that, not out of fear that he might not win his Vermont senatorial race at the age of 855. Okay. The reason why he's not saying that is because he doesn't believe it. But there is something within him that stops him from taking the Chuck Schumer route, that stops him from taking the Cory Booker route. I think a lot of Democrats, for one reason or another, either through social conditioning and firmly believing that Israel is the most important ally that we could ever have, or through the genuine fear that they have that they'll get fucking unseated by AIPAC if they speak out of turn, don't speak on this issue. Bernie doesn't have those considerations, okay? If he personally thinks that his messaging on this issue is closer to the public sentiment, I think he's wrong. It's just crazy because I think pre-October 7, he said more radical shit about Israel at times when it was demonstrating great courage. That's what is surprising to me. There's a reason why Palestinians fucking rock with Bernie Sanders super hard when he ran for office in 2016 and 2020, okay? I think there's also something that we forget. A lot of American politicians are still American at the end of the day. And as you have probably noticed from this stream and my naysayers, Americans are committed to never understanding an internationalist perspective. For them, this movement is about getting free college and maybe free healthcare, but also not ever considering that a part of that cost is happening directly, or a big hurdle against that happening is directly a consequence of American empire. Bernie Sanders, in his rhetoric, has recognized that reality. All right? He's recognized that reality. He has mentioned that numerous times. Why can't he say he supports Jimmy Carter's vision for peace, not apartheid? I feel like even going there would help move the narrative. I think I'm telling you, I think post October 7, he became more radical on the issue of Israel, like worse on the issue of Israel than he was ever before. You guys want to see? I took my Band-Aid off. You want to see my gross pinky? You need to, if you want to be a radical, okay, hold on. My mom just got up and wants to see it as well, but hold on. Look at this. Look at that. Gross. It's glued. Look at that. Gross. The doctor said after a couple hours, the glue sets in and then you can do it. The pit. I went to the pit, chat. What happened? Does it hurt? No. I've seen the pit. This is nothing. Exactly. How'd you do that, my guy? When I was putting my weights down. It's a certified boo-boo. I have a certified owie. Bernie has always had a bit of imperialist dog in him, though. See, Parenti not fucking with him after Yugoslavia. I generally agree with your take. I don't think he's the guy, but I do think capturing whatever momentum possible is a good thing. Yes. I'm not going to lie. If you think I didn't think, like, would it look cool if I lost my pinky like I'm Yakuza for a second? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't considering that. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, damn, like, if I lost the tip of my pinky, is that fucked up? Barbarism Critic says, if you want to be radical, then you have to radically shift your perspective. The one that is always looking for the next opportunity to bring people in the movement. You need to abandon the idea that people with false conscience or bad ideas or liberal sentiments are fixed and immutable and incapable of growth or change. Once upon a time, you and I were liberals too. To be a radical is to see the potential in every moment and in every person, not to deride those who aren't as politically advanced as you are. You must do away with your narrow view of the world and what it can be. A true radical doesn't just react. They look for the dialectic at work in every situation and search for the contradictions that can drive change. I agree. Respectfully, that's a whole lot of words to get the core argument of AOC and Bernie pull huge crowds and then send those crowds into the wrong place, but that's a good because we can theoretically poach them. Well, that's incredibly reductive, but yes, the job of a socialist is to meet the working class where they are and advance their consciousness. It is how it's always worked. I know. I just don't understand why people don't recognize that. I think people genuinely don't understand. If I had to guess, I think Bernie may feel frustrated with a less focus on Gaza. He's very one-minded, has a significant blind spot on Palestine. But at this speech and others, he says we need to focus on Gaza, but also the American worker. It's not good, but that's what it kind of seems to me. Yeah, I want... It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because if you think you are not going to have allies that at one point or another thought that a fucking two-state solution was possible, even right now, 60 months into the genocide, or dare I say, I'll take it one step further, allies that literally think what Israel was doing was awesome and righteous up until the very moment where they have that pivotal moment of change, you're delusional. Wake up. Wake the fuck up. Yes, there are right now, today, people all around you that might think what Israel is doing is fucking dope. Heinous shit. Okay? It is up to you to try to convince them that they are wrong. It is up to you to show them the truth. There are many of you in here that probably felt that way before October 7. Have I spent a whole bit of time telling you how right I was for the past 10 fucking years? No, because that would be stupid. I shut the fuck up, I dial in, and I actively and stubbornly try to correct you, to try to course correct. And guess what? It fucking works. It works even when it feels like it's not going to work. It works when a year ago at this point, I had lost a fuck because of my hard-headedness on this issue. Being correct but too early is nothing. It doesn't matter, especially when you recognize that people's starting positions are going to be different than yours, okay? That's it. That's it. That's it. You have to remember that. Yeah. And the thing that gives me so much hope, though, is literally the difference of reaction to this, where people are booing the cops. People are awkwardly silent about Bernie Sanders' non-response here. These are Bernard heads. These are people who fucking came to this crowd to hear Bernie speak. He is the fucking headliner. Okay? People are actively booing the cops. What does that tell you? What does that show you? That means that this audience still loves Bernie, but absolutely is further to the left than Bernie on the issue of Israel. Many people are. Many normal Democrats are. I think a lot of normal Democrats have a lot of normie Democrats, the Barbers and the Debras, okay, are far more, far closer to the truth of what's going on in fucking Palestine than the average Democrat is, no matter how radical the average Democrat is, with the exception of like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, you know? Now look at this.
Trump's detention of Mahmoud Khalil for his speech is anti-American, and we demand his release, along with the release of Rumeisa Ozturk, who he is also jailing.
There are bigger issues than Israel at this moment. It's so funny because you're a fucking idiot who doesn't understand, who refuses to understand that no, there aren't bigger issues than Israel at this moment. You want to know why? Because the administration is using Israel as a weapon to fucking shred the First Amendment and due process, dumb fuck. God damn. They're changing American policy. They're undermining the American Constitution while using Israel as a vehicle to do so. So if you want to go, oh, I don't care about Israel. Why do you have to talk about Israel? Because you're deeply ashamed of your fucking perspective on Israel and you're too afraid to openly say it. So you have to cynically go, oh, no one cares about Israel. Shut the fuck up. All you care about is Israel because, I don't know, for some reason or another. Maybe you're biased because your name is Hasan. Maybe because you're Muslim. Wake the fuck up, idiot. The Trump administration is posterizing false deportations that they're promoting of legal permanent residents that they want to literally denaturalize, revoke the citizenship of, because of no crime whatsoever, other than the fact that they were critical of Israel. That's fucking insane. Wake up!
In her school paper. And we also demand the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who's in El Salvador. This is America.
He's not just being silenced, but he's also a liar. Yes, we need everyone together right now, but that does not mean that Coleman is not using Palestine for a show and opposing actions, not one more nickel. Why does he say... Then why does he say no to an actual arms embargo? What are you talking about? He hasn't said... Bernie Sanders has not only not said, why does he say no to an actual arms embargo? He has actively written the fucking bill for an arms embargo. Shut up. This is what pisses me off so much. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yes, Bernie on the optics doesn't go far enough. Bernie on the statements doesn't go far enough. But as far as grading him against the rest of fucking Congress, that's one aspect where you can't talk shit. He is far more to the left than the average Democratic senator is. He is far closer to the average American citizen's attitude on the matter. Fuck, dude. You just demonstrated exactly what the problem is. Article on Bernie being one of 15 senators blocking arms to Israel. No, he wasn't just one of 15 senators to block arms to Israel. He was the senator that proposed this bill to block arms to Israel. What are we talking about? Senate voted against considering the first two resolutions by Senator Bernie Sanders to block the Trump administration. If you want to criticize Bernie, criticize him on the fucking Marco Rubio vote. Okay, 99-0, including Bernie. If you want to criticize Bernie, criticize him on what he says. If you want to criticize Bernie on not going far enough on the legislative agenda, you have to rate him on a curve with respect to the rest of Congress, because it's not like he's fucking not doing anything. You just think that because you saw shit on Twitter. Fuck. This is one of the major problems with anti-electoralist leftists, okay? Anti-electoralist leftists understandably and correctly point out that within a bourgeois, whether it's a two-party system or a multi-party parliamentary structure, is always going to have two poles of power that will never undermine capitalism, okay? That is their stated purpose. That is their goal. You're correct. But because of that, you're not interested in understanding how Congress works, understanding how the machine works. And if you don't understand how this machine works, you can't actively and adequately criticize when politicians do the wrong thing. This is an issue. This is an issue. This is a major issue for a lot of leftists. That's why I love people like David Dan or people like Sam Cedar. I might not fully agree all the way with some of their assessment, but it doesn't matter because they fucking understand how this machine works and they try to move politicians marginally in the right direction. Okay? That's it. And I say this as someone who also recognizes that electoralism is not going to pave the way for a fucking revolution. Okay? But you don't have anything. You have no movement. You have no motion. You don't have a vanguard. You have no education. You have no awareness. You have a country with no class consciousness. In order to even build class consciousness, you have to move the needle in the appropriate direction, at least in the interim, to mobilize, to organize, to agitate. But you don't want to do any of that. You just want to fucking chirp. Shut up. God damn. And it's fine. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Okay? I understand. You're like, I'm checked out. Whatever. Okay? I can't force you. If you want to call me a fucking sheepdog for the Democratic Party, that's fine. I don't care. Okay? That's fine. You go ahead. I have a principled stance on this matter. I have a different method than you. I have a different belief system than you do at the end of the day. I believe that in order for there to be any sort of real revolutionary sentiment or revolutionary organizing in this country, Americans have to get to a point of class consciousness. As material conditions erode, as contradictions worsen, Americans are moving in the direction of fascism. They're not moving magically in the direction of Marxist-Leninist principles. Okay, they're so far removed from that reality. So I'll take any help I can get to make it easier to unionize, for example, because unionization will create an opportunity not only to push back against the Democratic Party, that force them to do the bidding of the American working class in moments that fucking matter, but it's also very important for educational purposes as well. Do you understand? Right now, I, in a socialism with Hasanist or Chinese characteristics, look at the material conditions in the United States of America, look at broad awareness in the United States of America in terms of what people think about socialism, and I think that there is no fucking shot in hell that you could do a Revolutionary Marxist-Leninist Party. There's a million of them. There's a million communist parties. Why the fuck do they look like a Discord server that breach containment every time they get together? They're trying their best. No disrespect. But like, there's a reason. All right. Bro said 30 minutes ago he doesn't punch left, Lamau. Okay, I make jokes. Okay, I make jokes about everyone on the left, on the broad left. Calm down. In any case, I personally think Bernie supporting this resolution was the wrong play and prolonged the issue. But again, that's just my personal opinion. What is this? A resolution affirming? Oh yeah, this was fucking bullshit. A resolution affirming that Hamas cannot retain any political or military control in the Gaza Strip. Yeah, 100%. Ridiculous. As soon as you see Fetterman on there, you got to fucking run away. I mean, Lindsey Graham too, but like this is the type of shit that he does that I think demonstrate. This is the type of shit that he does that I think at the end of the day demonstrate that his opinions are his firmly held convictions. Yeah, he's like, Hamas is a terror organization. He said that over and over again. Okay, but it doesn't matter. You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because out of all these senators, out of all these fucking senators, I need you to understand something. If these senators, no matter who they are, even if it's fucking John Fetterman's oaf ass that went out and was like, oh, I think I'm going to personally save my constituents who have been falsely deported against speaking out against Israel, and he put his fucking ogre ass, his oafish ass on the line, I would celebrate that decision. I would be cautious, given his background, given his track record. Okay. But it doesn't matter. I fucking hate that person. Okay. I hate him. I think he's a monstrous piece of shit. Having said that, in the interim, in the short term, in the period where congressional action is a necessity, okay, I'll take it. I'll take help wherever I can get. Is he really that bad? He is worse. If you think John Fetterman is, you're like, oh, Hasan, you described this guy as like a really bad guy. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, he is worse than the way I have presented him. To be charitable again, this was approved by unanimous consent, so they didn't actively vote for it. He just didn't stand on the Senate floor and stop it. Effect is similar, but I'd also never expect someone to be the only person to stop an anti-Hamas messaging bill. I don't think Rashida would even do that. Yeah, I agree. I think Bernie has a better chance of doing that than Rashida Tlaib, but that's besides the point. He has the clout. He has the momentum. He's Jewish. That's another huge factor here at play. He is the guy. He has more power to be able to do that than Rashida Tlaib ever did. How are you any different about liberals on as Bernie from lesser evil libtards who spoke about Kamala over Trump then? Your argument is like theirs, where you could have worked within the Dems with Kamala in power. Are you so delusional that you think Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris are on the same fucking wavelength on every other issue? What are you talking about? In terms of presenting bills that deny arms to Israel, Bernie Sanders has introduced bills. So within the limited congressional authority or the expansive congressional authority that a congressperson has, Bernie Sanders has definitely been infinitely more progressive than the rest of Congress. If you're going to rate him on a curve on legislation, you got to rate him on that curve, okay? In terms of optics, in terms of messaging, he has been not great, actually awful, as a matter of fact. I was very disappointed in the aftermath of October 7. I said it over and over again. I even hid the Bernie Sanders the Bernie Sanders sitting down thing for a little bit because it was just to hide my shame. Okay. No, but wouldn't it be better to work for socialism or denying arms to Israel under Kamala than Gestapo endorsing Trump? Wait, what? There is no working for socialism under Kamala Harris. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. You're living in La La Land. Biden's own fucking anti-Semitism envoy, a fucking a Holocaust historian, literally came out unprompted, out of nowhere yesterday, went on the Forward magazine and said, I like what Trump is doing, but I think you should follow the system that was designed to engage in deportations of people who are critical of Israel. What the fuck are you saying? Biden did a fucking unlimited genocide on the Palestinian population for a year. Shut the fuck up. The idea that Kamala Harris will be significantly better. Yeah, Kamala Harris would not fucking turn around and be like, we're going to do ethnic cleansing in the Gaza Strip. She wouldn't say that. But if you think that she was definitely going to change trajectory, why the fuck didn't she say so? That's still a major problem for Kamala. Okay? Shut up. Wouldn't it be easier under Harris than Trump? Seriously? Oh, yeah. That's why we built so much socialism under Joe Biden. God damn, dude. Liberals are so fucking annoying. Still to this day, to this very moment. What's Kamala Harris doing right now? She's an active leader in the Democratic Party. What's she doing? What's she doing? Is she out there in the streets? Is she speaking now? Huh? Is that what she's doing? No. The fuck is she doing? You're experiencing it. You're a regular Joe. You're a layman. You are experiencing the death and destruction of the Trump administration. You will suffer. What's she doing? What has she done? Fucking Cory Booker has done more than her, and he hasn't done shit either. Yeah, she got a Hollywood agent. She went the Obama route. She's writing a fucking book. Yeah, she's at a real estate conference in Queensland. What are you guys talking about? Seriously. It's like Kamala Harris I could argue against Kamala Harris in the same way that I get mad at fucking Jill Stein. Where is Jill Stein, bro? Where's she at? Where the fuck is Jill Stein? Where's she at? We're here. You're here. Bernie's here. Where the fuck is Jill Stein? Gotta wait 4 more fucking years to see her again. This is why I get fucking mad at Jill Stein too. This is why I get mad at the fucking Green Party. Wake up. Oh my God. It turns out she didn't give a fuck. That's crazy. I've seen this song and dance before. At least PSL organizes, okay? They are infinitely more respectable. They're infinitely more respectable than the Green Party. You understand? They do a fuckload more than the Green Party ever did. Twitter activity of Jill Stein. 4 tweets per day. When is this? Yeah, I saw this. Ethan Klein says Hasan is a white
here
dude.
And say, go back home. Unreal. And I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Imagine that. According to Hasan, the white dude side of America. Awesome, bro.
This is so funny. I saw this. I was like, dude, I was your podcast co-host. You know I grew up in Turkey until I was 18 years old. What the fuck? Oh my God. It's just such basic facts that he consistently gets wrong. I just like, it's so strange. He wiped his whole memory of me. It's just, how else can you make better fuck Hasan propaganda if you remember things? I don't know. The most charitable interpretation here is that he probably accidentally said Hasan when he meant Ian, because I'm constantly on his mind, I guess. He doesn't recognize the state of Turkey. Yeah, he's like, that's just more Israel. You mean northern territory of the Greater Israel Project? What do you mean? The Ottoman Caliphate will be restored, except it will be Israel instead of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. Anyway, you mean New Greece. Yeah. So Bernie on the policy front, on the legislative side, is far closer to the interests of the average American. Bernie on his own, though, when it comes down to his own opinions, like whether it be that one clip from 2014 when he popped off at someone, or even especially after October 7th, when I think he had like a brain-breaking moment and genuinely got scared. This is what I want to talk to him about so bad, but I know he's just not going to do it.